You know the moment that changes the way you see money? It's not a headline. It's not a dramatic crash on TV. It's when you walk into a store, grab what you need, and the cashier says, "Card system's down." Then you go to the next place, same thing. Then the ATM is out. Then the pharmacy is closed until further notice, and suddenly you're standing there thinking, okay, so what does having money even mean if I can't turn it into what my family needs? That's the real shift. Because in a stressed country, whether it's civil unrest, major storms, long outages, supply chain breakdowns, or just slow-motion instability, value doesn't disappear. It changes shape. It turns into usefulness. It turns into trust. It turns into whatever solves a problem right now, not whatever looks impressive on paper. So when people say, "What's the new currency if things go bad?" they're usually thinking about some shiny replacement like gold coins. Sometimes that matters later. But in the early phase, the currency is simple. It's the items, skills, and systems that keep you breathing, moving, fed, clean, and safe. It's what lets you function when modern life is unreliable. So I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. 1, the practical goods that suddenly become trade power. 2, the skills that become currency even when you don't have much stuff. 3, the rules of bartering that keep you from getting cleaned out, tricked, or targeted. All right, let's start with one of the biggest underappreciated currencies of a stressed world. Power, not electricity in a wall outlet. Power as in the ability to make light, get information, and keep basic devices running. When the grid is shaky or down, batteries turn into money. AA, A8A, D batteries, rechargeable packs, power banks, even small solar chargers. These are the kind of items that vanish early in a real disruption because everyone suddenly remembers they own flashlights, radios, lanterns, headlamps, and all those little devices they never think about. And this isn't just comfort. Light prevents injuries. It keeps people calm. It makes basic tasks possible. And communication matters even more. A portable radio, a weather radio, a way to hear official updates and warnings that can keep you from making the wrong move at the wrong time. In a barter economy, batteries and chargers have a clean advantage. They're small, they're divisible. People understand them instantly, and you can trade them without giving away your whole pantry. Now, right beside power is the thing nobody wants to talk about, but it becomes urgent fast: sanitation. In disruptions, disease spreads faster than rumors. Not because people are evil, but because systems like clean water, waste removal, and normal hygiene routines get harder. That's why basic hygiene items become currency. Soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, razors, feminine products, diapers, wipes, trash bags, disinfecting wipes, and yes, toilet paper. People love to laugh about toilet paper until it's gone. Then it becomes very serious, very quickly. And in a stressed environment, cleanliness is not being fancy. It's basic health. It prevents skin infections, stomach bugs, respiratory issues, and all the nasty stuff that starts creeping in when people are crowded together and resources are limited. This is also where disinfectants become valuable. Plain household cleaners, things that help keep surfaces and tools cleaner. I'm going to mention bleach in a second, but the main point is simple. If you can keep a household clean, you reduce risk. If you can help someone else do the same, you've got something tradable. And speaking of unsexy items that turn into gold, let's talk about one that's insanely useful in both water and sanitation. Unscented bleach. Not the fancy scented stuff. Not splashless. Plain unscented household bleach. It matters because it has multiple uses in a crisis, but only when used correctly and safely. It can help disinfect surfaces. It can support sanitation. In some situations, it can be used for water treatment, but you don't guess at that. You follow official guidance and the label directions exactly. In a crisis, the last thing you want is to create a poisoning problem trying to solve a water problem. Bleach doesn't store forever. It degrades over time, especially with heat. So this is one of those items you rotate, not one you buy once and forget. Now, once you have light and sanitation covered, the next currency shows up the moment the temperature drops or people can't cook. Fuel and heat. If you've never gone through a cold night without reliable heat, it's hard to explain how fast priorities change. Heat isn't luxury, it's survival. Propane, kerosene, firewood, charcoal, fuel canisters, even small emergency stoves. People will trade heavily for the ability to cook and stay warm, and the smaller starter items become valuable too. Candles, matches, lighters, lantern fuel, anything that turns darkness into light and cold into warmth. A lighter is a perfect example of collapsed currency because it's compact, easy to use, easy to understand, and it solves a real problem instantly. Now let's talk about the thing that becomes the big argument every time people discuss hard times. Water. Clean water is life. Dirty water quietly kills. In a barter economy, it's not just bottled water that matters. It's the ability to make water safe. Water filters, purification tablets, spare filter elements, clean containers, and the knowledge to use them properly. In a short disruption, bottled water might carry you. In longer disruptions, people realize bottled water is finite. The ability to treat water is what turns you from water-dependent to water-capable. And this is where people need to be responsible. If you're treating water, you follow the product directions. You don't guess. You don't rely on a guy online. You use what's designed for it. That's how you avoid sickness. Now, after water and heat, the next currency shows up the moment something breaks. Tools and repair supplies. When stores are closed or stripped, tools stop being nice to have. They become infrastructure. Hammers, saws, axes, shovels, knives, multi-tools, rope, cordage, duct tape, zip ties, nails, screws, glue. Things that let you fix, build, patch, secure, and maintain. Because in a stressed world, everything breaks more often than you expect. People improvise. They use gear harder. They walk more. They carry more. Weather beats things up. Moisture rusts. Plastic cracks. Straps tear. And when you can't replace, you repair. Repair supplies trade well because they preserve other value. A few screws and a screwdriver can save a roof panel. Zip ties can secure a tarp over a broken window. Rope can stabilize a fence. Duct tape can patch a boot long enough to get through a week. Those little fixes prevent bigger problems, and people will trade for that. Now let's move into the category that changes everything emotionally: medical supplies and medication. When people can't easily access normal care, even basic medical supplies become high value fast. Bandages, gauze, antiseptic wipes, antibiotic ointment, pain relievers, fever reducers, anti-diarrheal meds, allergy meds, and basic first aid items. Because in disruptions, minor injuries turn into major problems. Cuts get infected, fevers become scary, stomach bugs become dehydration, a twisted ankle becomes a mobility crisis. Prescription medications are even more sensitive. People will want them, but you have to handle this responsibly. You don't give medical advice. You don't encourage unsafe sharing, and you stay within the law. The bigger point is that keeping your own medical needs covered, with a safe plan and a rotating supply where appropriate, reduces your vulnerability. And for bartering, medical items become valuable because they solve urgent problems that people can't ignore. When someone's kid is sick, logic changes. They're not thinking about gold. They're thinking about relief. Now, once you've got the survival foundation categories down, food becomes the next big currency. Food staples. Food always matters, but the most tradable foods are the ones that store well and carry a lot of energy. Rice, beans, canned goods, pasta, oats, peanut butter, shelf-stable oils, salt, sugar, and long-life foods like MRE-style meals. High-calorie, long shelf life, easy to portion. In hard times, people learn quickly that a bag of rice isn't just a bag of rice. It's meals. It's stability. It's a way to stretch other ingredients. And here's something people forget. Portioning matters. In bartering, smaller units create flexibility: single meals, small bags, single-serve items, travel-size items. Instead of trading a big sack, you trade a few cups in a sealed bag. That way you don't overpay. Now we've covered the things that keep you alive. But there's another currency category people underestimate until they've lived under stress: comfort items. This is where coffee, tea, sugar, spices, chocolate, candy, and other familiar morale boosters show up. Because survival isn't only calories, it's also keeping people mentally steady. Caffeine withdrawal is real. A person who needs coffee will trade for coffee. Sugar becomes a morale tool. Spices turn bland staples into food you can actually eat without hating your life. Some vice items also show up in history, but those carry legal and safety issues depending on where you are and what's going on, so I'm not going to push that angle. The key is the concept. Familiar comforts carry value because they change how people feel, and feelings influence trade. Now, what about precious metals? Gold and silver. Here's the balanced take. Metals can hold value over long-time horizons. They're compact, they're durable, they're recognizable to many people. But in the early phase of crisis, when people are hungry or cold or dealing with sickness, metals often aren't the first thing they care about. They might trade for them if they believe stability is coming back, or if they're thinking longer term. So think of metals as later currency more than tonight currency. A store of value, not your primary trade tool. Now here's the part that turns the whole concept into real, new money. Skills. Because if goods are the new currency, skills are the new income. Stuff runs out, skills don't. And in extended disruptions, the people who do well are the ones who can solve problems repeatedly. Medical skills, not fantasy medicine, real basics. CPR, wound care, hygiene practices, knowing how to keep minor problems from becoming major problems. Repair skills, mechanics, small engine repair, generator maintenance, battery systems, basic wiring, tool maintenance. The ability to keep things running is priceless when replacement is impossible. Building skills, carpentry, roofing basics, reinforcing doors and windows, fixing leaks, safe heating setups. Those are not luxury skills. Those are keep people alive in winter skills. Food skills, gardening, even on a small scale, raising chickens, foraging responsibly in your region, food preservation, canning, dehydrating, fermenting. Turning one harvest into months of meals is real wealth. Water skills, knowing how to find, filter, and safely treat water using proper methods. Being the person who can make water safer is the kind of value people will protect. Communication skills, radios especially. If you can set up or maintain communication, you become an information hub. And in chaos, information is power. Even soft skills matter. Organization, leadership, de-escalation, mediation, teaching. Communities that hold together survive better than communities that fracture. If you can help people coordinate, you become valuable in a way that isn't flashy, but it's real. So now we've got the what. Let's talk about the how. Because bartering isn't only about what you trade, it's about how you trade without becoming the neighborhood vending machine. Here are 10 rules that keep people safer and smarter in a barter economy. 1. Trade in neutral places whenever possible. Don't invite strangers to your home base. Don't walk into unfamiliar places alone. Neutral ground in daylight reduces risk. Organized local markets or community meetups are better than random driveway deals. 2. Keep your trade stash separate from your survival stash. This is huge. If you trade from your main supplies, you'll trade too much and you'll expose what you have. A separate, smaller trade cache keeps you in control. 3. Never show your whole hand. Bring only what you're willing to trade. If you show everything you have, you become a target and you lose leverage. People negotiate harder when they think you're loaded. 4. Watch the market. Barter value is fluid. 1 week batteries are gold. Next week it's fuel. After that, it's hygiene. Pay attention to what people are asking for. Pay attention to what's becoming scarce. 5. Protect your reputation. In a barter economy, your name becomes your brand. If people see you as fair and reliable, they come back. If you're seen as someone who tricks people, you'll get shut out or worse. 6. Don't trade away your last essentials. Always keep a personal reserve you won't touch. It doesn't matter what someone offers. If you sell your last key item, you might win a trade today and lose your stability tomorrow. 7. Keep trades small and divisible. Smaller units mean flexibility. Travel size hygiene items, single-serve portions, small bundles. You can make more trades without giving away too much at once. 8. Verify quality. In stressed environments, counterfeit and damaged goods show up. Don't trade for items you can't verify. batteries that are corroded, meds that are questionable, food that's compromised, fuel that's contaminated. A bad trade can hurt you. 9. Avoid desperation signals. If you seem panicked, people will price up. If you seem calm, you keep leverage. You don't have to be cold, just composed. 10. Build networks before you need them. Barter works best inside trust circles. Family, neighbors, friends, community groups. Trading with people who know you is safer than trading with strangers, and your network becomes your safety net. Now, let me bring this home with the main idea. When the old money system gets unstable, a new money system shows up naturally. It's not printed, it's not announced, it's not something you download. It's the stuff and skills that solve real problems. Clean water, heat, light, sanitation, medical basics, repair capability, food staples, comfort, trust, knowledge, community. That's what gets traded. That's what gets protected. That's what keeps you steady. And you don't have to buy into fear to prepare for this. You can treat it like you treat a spare tire. You hope you never need it, but if you do, you're grateful it's there. So if you want a simple action plan that doesn't overwhelm you, do this. Pick 3 categories you're weak in right now. Maybe it's light and batteries. Maybe it's sanitation. Maybe it's food staples. Maybe it's a basic first aid kit. Build one category at a time, slowly, while it's affordable and calm. Then add one skill. Something practical. Something you can actually practice. First aid basics. Small repairs. Basic cooking from staples. Water treatment knowledge using official guidance. Because the people who do best in stressed times aren't the ones with the biggest pile of stuff. They're the ones with options. They can solve problems. They can trade smart. They can keep calm. They can help. They can adapt. And when everyone else is scrambling, that calm becomes its own kind of wealth. That's the real new currency.